Get the G.I. Joe hovercraft! Get the new Joes aboard!
G.I. Joe hovercraft holds 9 Joes. It's the big new way to bring the Joe team into action, and it floats on water.
Release depth charges!
Hey, welcome to Half the Battle.
It's time we continued our look at the comic series, and this week it's issue 29, Beached Whale. The cover has Destro shooting at Toucan Roadblock, who appears to wield the power of Thor, I think. Well, I can't say this doesn't look promising. The opening page reveals the Joes arriving at a fishing port after the beating they took last issue. The whale hovercraft is in dire need of repairs, hence the title of the issue, Beached Whale. The Joes are being ridiculed by the locals, because laughing at the military was all the rage back in those days, I guess, while Roadblock does all the heavy lifting. Literally. Meanwhile, Destro and Firefly are still making their way through the swamp, vowing to take their revenge on Cobra Commander for a variety of good reasons. Destro reveals the location of Cobra headquarters, a little town called Springfield. In between panels, they hijacked a boat, and after threatening the guy who owns the thing, he tells them the most likely place they can find a proper boat to make their escape, and that location just so happens to be the same place the Joes are making repairs. Speaking of them, they've gotten Deep Six Medevac out of there as the repairs go on. They're using bicycle tube repair kits to plug up the bullet holes in the rubber.
I honestly don't know if I should make a MacGyver or an A-Team reference here.
Though, thinking about it, oh my god, imagine if the A-Team and MacGyver had ever teamed up! That would have been awesome! Oh well, I suppose Stargate SG-1 is as close as we'll ever get. Meanwhile, Cobra Commander, who had escaped the Joe's last issue, as was the style at the time, has arrived back in Springfield. Now, the comic likes to jump around from location to location, so I'm just gonna give you all the Springfield stuff at once. The whole town has come out to throw Cobra Commander a parade, causing Wild Weasel to remark they probably haven't heard of Cobra's recent failures. The commander insists that this is all to boost morale, though in reality the egomaniac just likes having parades thrown in his honor. Everybody in Springfield seems happy, save for one kid, Billy! No, not that one. He's the kid that helped Scarlet and company escape Springfield way back in issue 10. After the parade, the commander holds a rally to squash the rumors of their recent military defeats.
After all,
he has had many successes over the years.
That's never not gonna be funny.
The commander claims that whenever greed overcomes morals, whenever good men do nothing against evil, they win.
It's basically this speech.
Now you see that evil will always triumph, because good is dumb.
Cobra Commander goes on to say their non-military plans are doing great. They've got pyramid schemes raking in the dough. Cobra accountants are advising Americans to cheat on their taxes to weaken the government's military funding. Wait, so does that mean that in the G.I. Joe universe, IRS is a good guy? The most bizarre claim that Cobra Commander makes, though, is that his media department has sold 10 more mindless sitcoms to the networks to lower the intelligence of America.
So, does that mean that Cobra is responsible for 2.5 Men? Ugh, now I feel dirty just wearing the uniform.
You know what? Just for fun, since this comic is from 1984, I looked up some sitcoms that actually made their debut that year. There were actually about 10, though I haven't heard of most of them. There are some classics though, like Who's the Boss, Punky Brewster, and The Cosby Show.
Clyde? Thanks.
The commander has one more thing to talk about. I'd make a Steve Jobs joke here, but I neither like nor dislike Apple, so think of your own. It's time for Cobra to make its next move. I present to you the Cobra Elite Trooper, a Crimson Guard, one of Cobra's best and too good to squander on a battlefield.
You know, I gotta admire the balls on Cobra Commander here. After all, he's giving this speech in front of a bunch of people who then apparently are just good enough to squander on a battlefield.
Anyway, he further explains that a Crimson Guard is a deep cover agent, meant to be an upstanding citizen, a pillar of the community, trusted by all, an all-American patriot. Their mission is to worm their way into the hearts and minds of the powerful, to climb the political ladder on behalf of Cobra, all the way to the Senate, and perhaps even higher. So, the long-term plan is to get a Cobra elected President of the United States.
Insert your own Bush or Clinton joke here, depending on which side your bread is buttered.
Though, personally, if a deep cover Cobra agent has ever made a bid for the presidency, it was probably Ross Perot. While all this is going on, the Joes have finished essential repairs on the whale and want to relax with a frosty bottle of Yo Joe Cola, marking the first time this fictional brand of cola is mentioned. Yeah, the comic had both Yo Joe and Cobra Cola, not to mention grape soda. There's 2 reasons for this. It avoided accidental product placement by using real soda names, and Hasbro didn't want the Joes, or even the bad guys, drinking beer. That's why the Dreadnoks are addicted to grape soda and chocolate-covered donuts, instead of, beer and drugs, which fit more with the biker stereotype. Anyway, just as repairs have been made to the hovercraft so it is seaworthy again, Destro and Firefly just happened to arrive.
How convenient!
They attack Cutter, who evidently wasn't paying attention last issue when Destro's mask shrugged off heavy machine gun bullets as he tries hitting Destro in the face. To be fair to him, maybe he thought he was in the cartoon where this does seem to work. Cutter gets the crap beaten out of him, and Firefly takes control of a gun station.
Duke and Roadblock, who were nearby, only get saved because...
If you smell what the Rock is cooking.
Roadblock lifts up some armored hull plating to shield them. The bad guys do manage to steal the whale and make a run for it, just as the Dragonfly comes in to deliver more parts for the thing. Duke gets to the chopper, couldn't resist, and tells Cutter to wait for medevac. He's having none of it though, and takes a fishing boat to get to the Jane, the G.I. Joe command ship. Destro has taken the whale onto land because, hovercraft, and runs into the sheriff and deputy from last issue, literally. Oh, I'm so glad they're back. Cutter, who I should mention got hit in the head pretty good by Destro, returns to the Jane, taking command of it and putting it in pursuit of his hovercraft. And that would be all well and good, but since the thing is fleeing over land now, Cutter decides to go the extra mile. You see, the Jane, while looking like a cargo ship, is actually a giant frickin' hydrofoil that can glide over water.
And that's awesome! Pretty much impossible, but awesome!
So, Cutter uses the thing as if it has stilts to cut over land and catches up with the bad guys, pretty much destroying the hydrofoils and the bottom of the ship in the process. Yeah, I know the guy has a head injury, but still, I don't even want to calculate how many millions of dollars just got destroyed because he wanted his damn hovercraft back. The last time I've seen anybody go through so much trouble for a whale was in Star Trek IV. So, with the Jane closing in on one side, the Dragonfly on the other, and with their guns jammed, seriously, that's the second issue in a row the guns on the whale have malfunctioned. Lowest bidder indeed. Things aren't looking too good for Destro and Firefly. Destro still has an ace up his sleeve, though, almost literally, as he shoots the copter with his wrist rockets, causing enough damage so they have to try for an emergency landing on the Jane, prompting this exchange between Wild Bill and Duke. "Don't you think I can do it?" "Sure, I think you can do it, Wild Bill." "You want to try yourself, Duke? Here, take the stick." "Bill, I really, truly, honest to gosh believe you can pull off this crazy stunt, so do it already."
And thus, we are witness to Duke crapping his pants for the first time since early childhood.
The Dragonfly lands on the ship. Well, I say lands, I mean it sorta bounces on the deck in a huge ball of fire, but they manage to come out of it alright. With the Jane closing in, the bad guys make a last desperate attempt by launching depth charges, but those are easily avoided. And the Jane has one more surprise in store, as the front of the ship opens up to swallow the hovercraft like...
Oh, god damn it. Yeah, like a whale. How much do you want to bet they came up with this whole story just so they could make that pun?
Once the whale is inside, the Joes discover a distinct lack of bad guys, but they do find explosives and a detonator. Realizing the detonator is about to go off, with no time to get it topside, Tripwire tries to do the heroic thing and smother it with his own body. Roadblock tells him to cut that crap out, takes the thing from him, and with a throw that I'm pretty sure is physically impossible, hurls the thing up a ventilation shaft, out of a funnel, where it bounces off the ship and finally explodes.
Once again, G.I. Joe, making the laws of physics their bitch since 1982.
With that crisis averted, the Joes realize Destro and Firefly were actually in those depth charges they dropped. Though, if you ask me, that seems pretty suicidal. With the sun coming up and the entire sea covered in fishing boats, the Joes have no choice but to accept the bad guys have escaped. And our comic ends much like it began, with Destro vowing to get to Springfield and deal with Cobra Commander. And that was Beached Whale. Here's my conclusion. This was a great issue with some important elements. By sheer coincidence, because I swear I don't plan these things out that far ahead, we've got another adventure with a B-story about Cobra Commander. And, once again, Cobra Commander's plot elements are the more intriguing ones. Unlike last week, though, the A-story, focusing on the whale, was rock solid and engaging, and I enjoyed it very much. Though, I have to say, my suspension of disbelief got stretched a bit thin when it came to the Jane. Having the hull open up, something that has caused ships to sink by the by, and hydrofoils too, was a bit much. I'd have preferred if only one secret feature had been included, especially since the thing was thought up only for the comic. It was never considered for a toy. By the way, Cutter going all gung-ho, no pun intended, after his head injury.
Never mentioned again.
Also, I'm a bit confused why we see Destro shooting on the cover, while Firefly is actually the one doing the shooting in the comic. I'm guessing it's a miscommunication between the cover artist and writer. The stuff in Springfield is great. We learn a bit about Cobra Commander, as well as what Cobra actually does to get funding for their military operations. Most importantly, though, this is the issue that introduces the Crimson Guard, a great concept and one of my favorite figures. Of course, I'm guessing they only had concept art for the guy at the time, since his uniform in the comic looks like a red coverall and a stupid-looking mask. Needless to say, Crimson Guards would become very, very important down the line. Overall, this is a must-read issue for anybody who wants to learn more about Cobra, and it's a good story in general.
See you later, everybody.
It's a Cobra attack! Get the G.I. Joe hovercraft! Get the new Joes aboard!
G.I. Joe hovercraft holds 9 Joes. It's the big new way to bring the Joe team into action, and it floats on water.
Release depth charges! Yo, Joe! Chase that Cobra! Way to go, Joe!
G.I. Joe hovercraft comes with driver, other figures, and equipment sold separately from Hasbro.